Howdy everybody, ArgonMatrix here, welcome you to episode 4 of Dark Souls Remastered. Last time we left off, we unlocked this little shortcut here shortly after beating the Taurus demon way up above. And he wasn't really the boss of the previous video, honestly. More like that felt like more like that Black Knight that we fought was the boss, just about how much I had to think in order to beat him. But let's press on regardless. We've got a dragon to contend with now. I'm not going to fight this dragon right now. You theoretically could, but there's a couple other ways that I think you're more meant to go around here. Ooh, you can see its tail kind of hanging out right there. There's actually a good point to notice that there are several enemies in this game that if you can cut off their tails or do enough damage to their tails to cause them to fall off, then you'll get a special unique weapon from him. And this dragon is one such enemy. So if you get a bow and arrow and you can just sort of like get down here where you're relatively safe and shoot that tail for like, I think you need like 50 some odd arrows at the level that we're at right now, then you can probably get that weapon by the name of the Drake Sword, which is a very powerful early game weapon for sure. So it might be in your best interest to do that if you need a little bit of a leg up. It's not going to scale well into the late game, the Drake Sword, but it is extremely powerful early on. That much is sure. So let me go ahead and actually make my way up here onto the bridge proper. I'm going to run out and just kind of bait his breath attack here, just to clear out these numbskulls on the bridge so we don't have to worry about them too much. And now if you actually wait here for long enough, it's not very intuitive, I know, like, because if you step back out onto the bridge, he's just going to breathe fire at you again. But if you wait here long enough, just bide your time just right, then eventually he's going to go, jump down to the bridge, and this is where you run. You don't want to fight this guy, just keep running. I hear you down there, Manu. She wants my attention, she's vying for it, but we made it to the bonfire, baby, and that's breath attack over there is scary. Let's rest here. That will respawn all of the hollows, obviously, but I think the dragon is actually going to take off for the time being. I don't know if he's still, like, perched up there. Manu, do you hear this cat? She is relentless nowadays. I am recording in the middle of the day, so that's probably why she's not used to this. I'm more used to recording at late in the evening, but that's alright. So now we should actually be relatively safe to pop out onto the bridge here. So carefully sneak up on one of these guys so we can at least get a backstab off on one of them, ideally. There you go. And then we can hopefully take out the rest in due fashion so that we can pick up these items without too much harassment. This guy is just not helping his friends whatsoever, apparently. Oh, good, look at that. The mace actually just totally broke his shield there. Or broke his guard, anyway. Didn't break the shield. That would have been a much more cinematic sort of shot, I think. There's a claymore there. We also got some souls. The claymore is a pretty good weapon. It's a pretty good... What are you doing over there, cat? She's, like, looking up at the wall at something. I'm not sure. Sometimes, like, she'll do that if there's, like, a bug up there, but I don't see anything, so... I think she's just hallucinating right now. But yeah, that claymore is actually a pretty good weapon if you enjoy how great swords work. I'm not a huge fan of them myself, so I'm not going to be going out of my way to use that, but the option is available to you for sure. I don't know why I wouldn't kill those guys. I guess mostly because they're there. That's kind of the gist of Dark Souls. If there's an enemy there, I'm going to kill it. That's not always going to be the case. Sometimes there are enemies that you want to stay well away from, such as that dragon. But we might be able to come back and actually deal with that dragon at a later date, because I believe he does come back to this bridge at some point. Look at this. Praise the sun. Oh my god, 3,554 ratings. Let me see. I actually put my orange guidance soapstone on here, so I should be able to like rate this in theory. Wait, yeah, rate message. Here we go. Praise the sun. Yeah, sweet. It's a little more obtuse than I remember it being, but that's alright. How you doing, friend? These guys are just minding their own business. I'm not going to worry about it too much. Might be back here at a later date. So yeah, that's one way past the bridge, and it's probably the way I would recommend because it lets you open this gate here. The other way is actually if you, it'll take you, you'll pop up from this ladder that I'm heading down right now. You gotta be pretty wary down here because there are these scary rats which do inflict poison pretty substantially as well. Like yeah, see, I'm already poisoned. Oh gosh, this is a death trap right here. My weapon's too slow. It's just too slow to get the job done right now. Hold on. Oh, come on, that was a miss. Oh, see, this is what I mean when you shouldn't be taking on enemies in big groups like this. Oh gosh, I was all safe and nice up at the bonfire and made it just fine. And then I have to go and put myself in danger once again just to show off all the available paths to us. Alright, that should do the trick. And we got something from this rat as well. We got a humanity there. Yeah, rats are actually pretty good for farming humanity, especially later in the game when you might need it. Yes, there's that guy who's like, if you went all the way, if you kept going through the underside of the bridge, you would eventually make it to over here and then climb up to the other side of this gate, so you wouldn't have access to the bonfire, which is why I recommend taking the other way. Just my preference, really. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this poison by resting at the bonfire, because we do not want to deal with that. It's going to last until that bar goes all the way back down to 0, so we can't have that. Alright. So next up, there's actually a few ways we could go. You're really supposed to go this way. I'm going to clear out this guy, because apparently he wants some of this. I hit him in the shin there. Did you see that? You're done, son. Alright, so we're going to actually instead climb up this tower. Be wary of tough enemy. That's actually very sound advice. I'm going to hurry my way a little ways up here, but once I get closer to the top, you want to start taking more deliberate, gingerly steps. Because at the very peak of this tall tower here, yep, you guessed it, it's another one of these guys. So I'm going to go ahead and resort to my old strategy. Bring my old friend, the cracked round shield, back out. And let's see if we can do some damage to this guy. We might be able to get a backstab if we're slick enough about it. We got him. All right. Good first hit. Good first little bit of damage. Now, we just gotta... Oh, okay, he's gonna do that. That actually hurt quite a bit. We can parry that one, though. That, like, ground sweeping attack that he does, I find that to be usually the easiest one to parry, in my personal opinion. All right, so he can do that shield jab. And he usually, like... After taking a hit, oh gosh, I missed the riposte there after the parry. After taking a hit, he'll almost always do the shield bash into the ground swipe. So it's actually a pretty effective way, if you can get into the rhythm of it, to beat this guy. He doesn't always do it, so you have to watch out, you have to react, definitely. I mean, that's kind of the name of the game in a lot of Dark Souls combat, but you can see that it's working fairly effectively so far. But all it takes is one mistimed parry against that uppercut. And it's, I don't know if I'd die to it, but I would be pretty damn near close, is all I gotta say. So I think one more should do the trick here. I probably don't even necessarily need to parry him one more time. I could probably just do a couple regular hits, but might as well get that cinematic finish. Ooh, right to the sternum, man. You get out of here. There's another Titanite chunk. No weapon from that. That's alright, though. The weapon and shield are actually a relatively, I wouldn't say rare drop, but uncommon for sure. Alright. And if you're not too comfortable fighting him up there on the tower, you can lead him down from the tower. He'll follow you like all the way down here, and kiting him around this little fountain thing here, this little statue, is actually a pretty viable tactic as well. So let me go ahead and swap my equipment back out here. And we'll be on our way again. Back in action with our two-handed mace. Our good old friend. Oh, dear. Oh, man. Looks like I'm late to the party. How you doing there, fellas? They got a mascot and everything, a big old metallic boar that you really do not want to take in a head-to-head confrontation. Oh, there's this guy trying to flank us from the side as well. Can't have that. Just take him one at a time, as you should most enemies in Dark Souls, if you can manage it. I was hoping that would do enough to one-hit him. Oh, is he gonna... Oh, I thought he was gonna S this, actually. He might S... I don't want to follow him all the way back there, because I don't want to draw the attention of the boar. Oh, they closed that gate back there. The bastards. There is actually a way, like, if you're sneaky about it, to get past that gate before they close it, but I'm usually not good enough to do that. You... Oh, gosh, this stupid wooden post right in my way. There we go. Okay. So now, probably the best way to tackle this is not in a head-on confrontation, because you have to deal with obviously those two archers up there, as well as the boar. So let's take a little bit of a roundabout sidewind here, up the stairs, and see if we can dismantle this piece by piece, as best we can. These guys are going to be harassing us while we deal with this. This is actually a pretty gnarly setup all the time, because you can, like, get that guy, but then sometimes the crossbow bolts will catch you off guard, and you'll get staggered out of it like that. Gotta be very careful how you go about it here. I should be able to one-shot that guy with a heavy attack, and then hopefully get one off before that guy does me in. Got a Hollow Soldier helm. That's actually pretty nice because I don't start with a helm as a cleric, so I'll go ahead and put that on. Not necessarily the most fashionable, but definitely practical and useful. The Alluring Skull, they actually put this here for a very, very good reason, because the Alluring Skull, what it does is it attracts certain types of enemies to wherever it lands. It's an object that you throw like a firebomb, and then wherever it lands on the ground, some enemies, not all, like some, if they're a little bit smarter than the average bear, then they will not be drawn to it. But this boar just so happens to be one such enemy. So let me go ahead and see if I can line this up just right, because really the way I usually deal with this boar is to line this up and throw an Alluring Skull right down into the fire there, and he'll eventually mosey right on over to it, just completely driven by his primal instincts of, ooh, shiny thing. Doesn't even mind the fire all that much. Let me see if I can get him again. We got 4 skulls here. I don't want to have to necessarily use all 4 on him, but I will if I must. That's not the best throw, but that should get him in the fire a little bit regardless. Oh, gosh. Oh, he just went charging. I ain't never seen him do that. What is he doing? He's going crazy. Is he going to go back into the fire, or is he just going to... Okay. This is not the only way to deal with this boar by any means. I would definitely recommend against like trying to take him on head on, but there is a little section on his backside, on his rumpus, that is actually unarmored. So you can, if you can get in there and you can get a backstab off on him, that's generally a pretty good tactic as well. But with that out of the way, he is another one of those enemies that I don't believe will respawn here. So he's all good. He actually also does have a rare drop in the form of the Fang Boar Helm, which is just as badass as it might sound. Actually, it's one of the things that I got on my very first time playing Dark Souls. Not on my first on-stream playthrough from way back in the day. I don't think I got it, but I did get it because I did play Dark Souls before that. I just didn't end up beating the game on those playthroughs. But I did get the Fang Boar Helm, and it was so awesome. It made my rolls terrible because it's a very heavy helmet, so it definitely impeded me in that regard. But I didn't care, man. I was so new to the game that I was completely ignorant to the rolling mechanics regardless, and I just thought it looked badass as hell. That is not our only opportunity to get the Fang Boar Helm in this game, though, so thankfully we're not out of luck just yet. Man, these hollows are really... they really need to coordinate their attacks better, but what can you expect from them? They're hollows, right? Mystery key here. Take a quick look at that. Because I think I know what lock that's for, but I'm not entirely confident. I mean, it is a mystery key, so it's probably not going to tell us. A basic prison cell key. Okay, yeah. Kind of confirms my suspicion there, but it's nothing we have to worry about for the time being, because we haven't come across really any prison cells. Unless you count the one back at Firelink Shrine that was holding the Firekeeper, but that was not even a cell door that could be unbarred or anything, so not going to worry about that. Why do I have 8 Estus? Did I not, I thought I rested at the bonfire, and I don't think I've used any since, but... Oh, you know what it is? I didn't actually kindle that bonfire that we most recently rested at. And that's the thing, is you don't necessarily want to kindle every bonfire, because some bonfires you'll be coming back to a little bit more than others. And that one that we just recently rested at is not one that gets returned to all that often, so I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not sure that the one I kindled back in Undead Burg is one that I'm going to be going back to terribly often either, but I think the opportunity, at least, is more possible for me to be returning to that one, so... Let's press on here. There are a couple of new enemies, actually, here. Or at least one new enemy type. Yeah, in the form of this big cape-clad... heavy, broad-shouldered individual, but he's facing away from us. I don't know what he's expecting to see coming from the other side there, but let's see if we can get a backstab off. Don't know if this will finish him in one hit. Thanks, camera, for making that just glorious. There we go. One extra heavy attack is enough to finish him. So that's a Balder. He's actually a little more formidable than it might have made him seem there, guarding that Knight shield, which is a very good shield. It's probably one of the best early game shields. So if that's your kind of game, then by all means. Best early game shields as far as defense goes anyway. As far as parrying goes, the smaller the shield, the better usually. Usually the good parrying shields and the good defensive shields do not line up. They're sort of different classes of shield that you have to pick your poison more or less. Alright. Now you want to be really careful here. I'm actually going to go ahead and take this last Alluring Skull that I have, because there's guys like flanking both sides of this doorway. And if you just run in headlong, then they're gonna like get a pincer attack off on you, and that's not pretty. So I'm gonna throw that and see if I can lure one of them. Yeah, one of them's a balder, so that's kind of what I was more concerned about. But we got a nice heavy attack off on him. Maybe he might back off here to do that, and we can get a swing in. Not bad. You got to back off a little further to do your healing if you really want a chance at if you want a shot at the throne, pal. Gotta take a shot at the king. You best not miss, is all I'm saying. The queen in this case, because we really are a queen. With our 11,000 souls. My god, I didn't realize how volatile of a soul count I'm at. I really better not die here, because I'll be sent back a decent ways and have to work through some gnarly setups. Like, I don't think this part of the game is necessarily that hard, but they have some pretty nasty setups that can make for tough dealing. Thankfully, this one Balder is not too bad. Balders are actually a good enemy to try and parry against if you have a shield out and ready. I don't, obviously, so that's not something I'm gonna worry about just right now. I should be able to bash him just as I have all the other enemies up to this point. There we go. We did also pick up off this corpse one of my personal favorite weapons, or at least one of my personal favorite weapon types, the halberd here. You can see we don't necessarily have the stats in order to wield it yet. We need a little more dexterity and a little more strength. You don't necessarily need the full stat requirements for every weapon, though. That's one thing I haven't necessarily gone into, is that at least as far as strength requirements go, you only need a certain amount in order to actually wield it two-handed. The requirements on the weapon is what I'm saying. Hold on. I'm going to open this gate real quick before I carry on with this thought process. The requirement on the weapon for strength is what you need to wield it one-handed. To wield it two-handed, you only need, like, in Dark Souls 1, I can't remember if it's like you need just half of that requirement or if you need like 75% of it or whatever it is. I think like two-handing increases your effective strength score by like 1.5 times. And that applies not only to damage but to those weapon requirements as well, so something to keep in mind for sure. Let me go ahead and, if I can get past this last little setup here, I think we got a bonfire pretty close at hand. Just gotta deal with these guys. Get away from that crossbow wielding individual if we can. Oh gosh, man, he fired a nice shot there. Did you see that? He sniped between all his little friends and everything. Not that I think there is friendly fire in this game between the hollows. Not generally anyway, but there it is. Should get us pretty close. Yeah, we're almost up to like 12,000 souls. This is kind of crazy. But thankfully, we are at a point now that we're relatively safe, and I'm going to be spending these souls pretty shortly regardless, because you might be able to hear us approaching it. Yeah, you can hear that banging of the hammer, dude. This is going to be our first blacksmith that we're approaching. Be wary of liar. Imminent blacksmith? No, I mean, that guy's not lying. I don't know what you're talking about, man. Illusory wall ahead? I don't think so. Could it be that all this time there's been one here that I'm not aware of? Didn't think so, man. Now, this is not technically the first blacksmith in the game that you can come across. There's one in New Londo Ruins, actually, that I didn't show off because it just kind of slipped my mind, honestly. But this is usually the one that most people will come across first. So we got these 12,000 almost souls. I'm not going to worry about that just yet. In fact, I'm actually going to, because this is a bonfire that you'll come back to pretty regularly. So I'm going to go ahead and use a couple of these humanity in order to kindle it here, just to make sure that I don't forget about it. So reverse hollowing, we'll at least get our nice, smooth, pale skin back in action. Oh yeah, so much better. And then we're going to go ahead and kindle as well. And I think I'm actually going to also take this helmet off. It does provide a decent amount of protection, but I feel like my rolls are actually slower with it. Like I was having some nice fast rolls with it before. Yeah, that feels a little bit better. So before we worry about the blacksmith, who's just one floor down from that bonfire, let's pop over here, because this looks like a dead end regardless, and just see what all is happening. We got this chunky, hunky fellow right here. Looks a little downtrodden. What's up, my dude? Yeah, what a riveting conversation. Well, I'll be on my... No, okay, fine. What else you got, my friend?
Oh, forgive me. I was absorbed in thought.
Been there.
I am Siegmeyer of Katarina.
Siegmeyer.
I've run flat up against a wall, or a gate, I should say. The thing just won't budge, no matter how long I wait.
You tried lifting with your legs, not your back?
So here I sit, in quite a pickle, weighing my options, so to speak.
So you're just gonna, like, just hang out here and hope that the gate magically opens itself? That doesn't seem like the most proactive reasoning.
Still closed.
Well, I mean, you do you, my friend. You do you, Siegmeyer. He's at least pretty optimistic about it. Gotta admire that. You hear this bell ringing off the hook. My goodness, people ringing that bell of awakening left, right, and center. All right. So now let's actually hop down and get our, let's get down to business. Not to defeat the Huns, but to get some upgrades and stuff going. How are you doing, my good old friend? Long time no see, Andre.
Well, you must be a new arrival. I'm Andre of Astora. If you require smithing, then speak to me.
Man, just that easy, huh? Well, he just doesn't even know us at all. Just a stranger waltz on in, and he's happy to do it for us. Hurrah, that's a new gesture. I never showed off that shrug gesture I learned from Petrus either. I should probably do that at some point.
Most weapons and armor are mighty sturdy indeed, but every hunk of metal has its breaking point. If you notice durability running low, it's time to repair. You can ask a blacksmith like myself, or do it on your own with a grindstone. The nice thing about weapons, they never betray you. So pay them a little.
Well, you say that. You ever had a sentient weapon in Dungeons and Dragons, though? It might beg to differ. I don't know.
There are two types of weapon forging. There's reinforcement and there's ascension.
What a helpful man. He's just so nice.
It strengthens the weapon and nothing more. A simple task for any blacksmith. Hell, you could even do it yourself.
Don't sell yourself short, Andre. Come on.
Ascension's a finer art. It alters a weapon's properties. Ascension is the territory of we blacksmiths. A smith box just won't do the trick. Start out with reinforcement. When that loses its charm, you can consider Ascension.
Well, we don't have to worry about Ascension for a while yet.
This land is flush with the mad and wicked.
Yeah, definitely have noticed that.
Night without employing my services.
I'm pretty sure people have in the past. I think there are people crazy enough to do like a run where you don't upgrade your weapons at all, but this is not that kind of playthrough, at least not yet. Oh. Forgot just how many tips this guy had.
Forging armor is even easier than forging weapons. Whether you forge weapons or armor first, well, that's up to you. But nobody wants
honestly, I'm gonna say reinforcing armor is highly unadvisable for the most part. It's actually a feature they took out in later Dark Souls games because it's just not like worth the Titanite that it requires when upgrading a weapon is so much more effective in the long run. So I'm gonna go ahead and start off by I think that's pretty much all he's got to say for us. So you can buy just basic Titanite shards here, which is good because they actually have 0, which is kind of strange. Usually you get at least like 1 or 2 dropped from the enemies up till this point, but I guess that's just the luck of the draw sometimes. I'm gonna go ahead and start by buying these 3 lovely smith boxes though. The repair box, which is actually also for sale from the Undead Merchant back in the Undead Burg, but obviously much cheaper here. I also have some options for new weapons if that's if something strikes your fancy here. Honestly, the battle axe and the war pick are pretty cool potential options. Some new shields as well. New just extra designs for these. He's got a lot more sturdy stuff than that Undead Merchant has. All I'm saying. So I'm not gonna kill Andre just yet. Number 1, he's a lot nicer than the other guy was. Number 2, he's got a lot more to offer us for sure. Crest of Artorias. Not going to worry about that one just yet, mostly because we don't have the souls to even afford it. So let me go ahead and peace out for right now. Well, thanks. You neither. Well, I guess you're probably not as much of a risk as I am of dying. If you just stay there banging away at whatever masterwork you're working on next. So I'm going to go ahead and use the last of these souls that I have to see how many levels I can get. It should be a fair few. We get 5 level? No, 7 levels. 7 levels, that's actually pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and bump my dexterity up to 12. And then I'm going to go ahead and probably put the rest, divide it for right now between like vitality and endurance a little bit. Let's get 1 extra level in strength actually, just in case. And it'll actually help with our damage output as well. I think this is a pretty good loadout for right now. And then I upgraded my dexterity up to 12 precisely because if you remember right, that is what the halberd required. So you can see insufficient strength to wield it, but you can hold with both hands to use it effectively. Which I actually honestly prefer the two-handed moveset of the halberd regardless. It doesn't look great when you do it like this because you like kind of stumble. That's the danger of using a halberd. You got a lot of range with it, but if you whiff an attack, then you're left pretty vulnerable to attacks yourself. So I'm gonna go ahead. Actually, I don't have any. I don't have enough souls to like buy any Titanite to upgrade this thing. So I kind of put myself in a bit of a pickle there. But you know what? Hopefully we'll come across some Titanite of our own volition anyway. Oh yeah, there's also you. Hey Andre, are you aware that there's a big old lightning chucking headless demon in your basement? I mean, come on, man. This is a great opportunity for a gesture here. I haven't actually showed off any of these new gestures we have. We got prayer, which is I think you start off with as a cleric. For this shrug gesture, it's like, come on, Andre, what are you doing? What are you doing with your life, letting this guy squat in your basement? See if I can get a. I would really recommend against fighting this guy. You'll actually probably see that, especially with our weapon. Oh crap! Okay, yeah, that's about what you could expect. That our weapon is not going to do a whole hell of a lot to him. I have done this in the past though. If you manage your stamina well enough, it's actually not all that bad. There's not a huge point to doing this, to like killing this guy at this point. It's like the stuff he drops. There is the chance for him to drop his weapon, which is actually another one that another rare drop that I got my very first time playing Dark Souls. I got the weapon there, the Titanite catchpole, I believe it's called. And I used that for most of my first playthrough. That I didn't end up beating, but it was a fun weapon to actually try out, and it's part of where, because it is a halberd class weapon as well. Alright, we got our, let me go ahead and drink up here. You could see briefly when we were at our little sliver of health there, we were glowing red. That's from the blue tearstone ring actually, giving us a little bit of extra defense in our weakened state. If we just kind of kite this guy around here, you still got to be careful of that attack for sure. That's probably one of his most devastating sort of attacks. And the range on that attack as well, on all of his attacks, really is pretty hefty. We staggered him for a second there. That was actually kind of unexpected. Oh gosh, his tail got us. He's sidewinding. Oh man. Alright, I'm going to drink an Estus here just to be on the safe side, because he can and will one-shot you if you get caught in just the wrong state. It's happened to me before. It doesn't happen all that often, but you got to be extremely careful. Time your rolls just so. Man, I was only gonna take. I expected to like die to this guy like pretty easily, or like pretty soon, as soon as I started fighting. But I guess we're gonna be taking him out here, as silly as that seems. The friggin' unupgraded halberd. Halberd v halberd will determine who's the most superior of them all. Maybe get ourselves a new fresh halberd out of it in the end as well, if we're lucky. Oh, well actually I think he drops this normally, Demon Titanite. We got 2,000 souls out of it at the very least, so that'll be a good source to buy our Titanite, and we can actually probably get our halberd up to +1 if we want to. Yeah, I'm doing all right, buddy. Hope you're doing well too. I dealt with that infestation you had in the basement there. That guy won't respawn either, so that's pretty nice. Gonna go ahead and buy 2 Titanite here, which actually I think you only need 1 for the first weapon reinforcement, if I remember right. Yeah, you only need 1 Titanite shard. You do also need a certain amount of souls. You can see we need 200 souls up in the top right there. So we can get this up to +2, but we'll need 2 Titanite shards for our next upgrade.
Don't get yourself killed.
But I think a +2 halberd at this point is pretty, it's going to be a pretty hefty force to be reckoned with. You'll see. It didn't look too impressive against that Titanite demon. I know that much is readily obvious, but against some of the more basic guys, the more basic bitches up in the Undead Church here, it should prove to be a pretty powerful asset.